What if I told you that learning Spanish isn't about trying harder? Instead, it's about making the process easier. You've probably heard of James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, which is all about how small, simple habits stack up over time to create big results. Today, we'll apply those same strategies to learning Spanish. You're about to learn how to make Spanish a natural, automatic part of your daily life so that you can be consistent, stay motivated, and actually achieve fluency. According to Atomic Habits, people who reach really exceptional goals, like becoming fluent in a second language, aren't those people who wait for big bursts of motivation. Instead, they're the people who make tiny, smart decisions every single day. No matter who you are, if you're able to make small amounts of progress on Spanish and do that consistently, you will achieve your goals. James Clear's book is full of tips and tricks for creating consistent habits. For now, to apply Atomic Habits to learning Spanish, we're going to focus on just 3 key things. First, a mindset hack for how to think about your Spanish journey. And this is something that's common to everyone I've ever known who's actually become fluent in Spanish. Second, a foolproof pattern. This is the secret to choosing the exact right time to study every single day so that you'll never skip again. Third, an easy win method. So this is how to make your routine just easy enough that you don't wear yourself out. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you how to apply these evidence-based principles to your Spanish routine, step by step. Let's start by getting to the root of the problem. If you're like most Spanish learners, it's not that you're lazy or unmotivated. The real problem is that you've set unrealistic goals for yourself. Let's see if you can relate to this. So I've been helping coach Spanish learners to fluency for the last 11 years, and here are some of the unrealistic goals that I've seen my students give themselves. I'm going to learn 500 Spanish verbs in 2 weeks. I'm going to memorize 2,000 Spanish words and speak only Spanish, not English, for the next 3 months. I'm going to study 4 hours a day and be fluent by next month. When you set goals like this, you're setting yourself up for failure. Giving yourself an impossible goal is just going to discourage you. Not only that, but it also gets you a little too obsessed with this idea of a finish line. So this sort of end goal of becoming fluent, which is actually really bad for your progress. As James Clear mentions in Atomic Habits, if you focus too much on the outcome, like achieving fluency in Spanish, you're probably not putting enough focus on the process itself. But on the other hand, if you do focus on the process itself, you can fall in love with learning Spanish. Notice that I didn't say fall in love with being fluent in Spanish, which is about the finish line. I'm talking about falling in love with becoming fluent. Falling in love with the journey requires a mindset shift. So let's jump in and start right there with an amazing pro tip straight out of Atomic Habits. So this first step is a mindset hack. You're about to learn how to brainwash yourself into becoming fluent one day at a time. Let's start with a little self-reflection about your personal identity as a language learner. Real question. Do you see yourself as a serious Spanish learner? Now, you might be thinking, yes, of course, I'm serious about learning Spanish. But we have to get really honest here. If you're a serious Spanish learner, what's the evidence of that? If we look back at the last couple of months, what do your habits say about how serious you are? Here's a little reality check. Which one of these sounds the most like you? For the last 2 months, number 1, I've worked on vocabulary, grammar, reading, writing, listening, and speaking every single day. Number 2, I work on Spanish most days, but I don't cover all of those areas. Number 3, I study 2 or 3 times a week, but without much structure. Number 4, I rarely put serious daily effort into Spanish. Don't worry if you don't love your answer. This isn't to make you feel guilty. It's just to give us an honest starting point. The good news is your language learning identity is flexible. You can change it if you want to. And that's today's mindset hack. So are you ready to brainwash yourself? Let's do it. Start by consciously deciding, I am a serious Spanish learner. Say this out loud. Tell yourself that it's true. I'll wait. Okay, the next step is to back this up with real-life evidence. Each day, you're going to ask yourself, what would a serious Spanish learner do today? Then you'll take one small action to prove that you're a serious Spanish learner. Remember, that doesn't mean you're going to do some giant heroic thing in Spanish every day. On a good day, when you have enough time, you might be doing a 1-hour study session where you review what you've learned and take on some challenging new topics. But on a busy day, you might just spend 3 minutes reviewing some flashcards and maybe doing a little bit more quizzing. Remember, the important thing is consistency and just showing up every day. That's what's going to make this mind trick work. After a few weeks, those actions will reinforce your new identity as a serious Spanish learner. This isn't an overnight thing. So at first, when you tell yourself, I'm a serious Spanish learner, your mind might not be convinced right away. That's because it needs evidence. You have to make your actions align with that identity. But then, after you've started building up that evidence with a little bit of daily work consistently, your mind will be more and more convinced that you are indeed a serious Spanish learner. And then this reinforces the likelihood that you do make those small daily decisions. So it becomes a virtuous cycle. You choose your identity, you take daily action to reinforce that identity. This in turn builds more and more evidence, which then convinces your mind to believe in this identity. And if you keep that cycle going for a few months, it won't just feel like effort anymore. It'll feel automatic and a part of who you are. So for now, today, let's start simple. Say to yourself, I am a serious Spanish learner. That's the mindset shift that's going to set everything else in motion. Okay, that brings us to the next step, which is creating that consistency every day. I'm going to show you how to create a foolproof pattern that'll keep you going every single day. To start, think about anything that you already do every day without even thinking about it. What if Spanish was as automatic as brushing your teeth or pouring a cup of coffee in the morning? Well, it can be. Here's how. In Atomic Habits, James Clear explains that every automatic behavior starts with a cue. There's some sort of cue in your life that triggers the habit. For example, you get out of bed feeling groggy, that's the cue, and therefore you pour yourself a cup of coffee. That's the habit. Or maybe in the evening, you're about to get in bed, that's the cue, and so you brush your teeth. That's the habit. If you're already doing things like this consistently, here's how to make studying Spanish exactly that consistent. It starts with just choosing a cue. The easiest way to do this is to use this format. Every time I blank, I will blank. So for us serious Spanish learners, that could look something like this. Every time I pour my morning coffee, I'll quiz 5 Spanish flashcards. Every time I start my lunch break, I'll turn on a Spanish quizzing podcast. Every evening when I finish brushing my teeth, I'll journal about my day in Spanish. This way, you're basically just piggybacking on a habit that's already part of your daily life. If you're already brushing your teeth consistently, all you need to do is stack another habit on top of that, like quizzing Spanish flashcards. So let's recap where we are so far. The mindset hack is to practice saying, I am a serious Spanish learner. And then to create evidence of that with a foolproof plan, you might say, starting today, every time I brush my teeth, I'll quiz at least 5 Spanish flashcards. And none of this is rocket science. It's all simple, specific, and it becomes very obvious in your life. Try this out and you'll be amazed at how quickly it all becomes automatic. All right, so now that we've started the mindset hack and we've set up our habit cue, it's time for the third piece of the puzzle. You need to give yourself a daily Spanish routine that's as easy as possible to sustain long term. The easier something is, the more likely you are to stick to it. The harder or more complicated it feels, the faster you're going to drop your new habit. Now, of course, learning Spanish is no easy task. And if you're serious about becoming fluent, you're going to have to learn thousands of words, master core grammar, practice speaking, listening, reading, and writing. But you should still start with a daily routine that's simple, clear, and doable, even on your busiest days. That's why my team and I came up with a 3-part study routine that'll get you practicing all the essential Spanish skills in as little as 5 minutes a day. I covered that in another video, which you can watch here, and it's also linked in the description of this video. But for now, in a nutshell, the routine includes quizzing a few flashcards with core grammar, practicing saying a few Spanish sentences out loud, and writing at least one sentence in Spanish. Again, I recommend watching that other video after this one for all the details of how to make that routine work for you every day. And I can testify that starting small is what works. So when we take on new Spanish coaching students, we always have them start with this little routine from the very beginning. And then the vast majority of them end up creating consistent habits that last at least 6 months. So trust me, starting small works. By choosing an easy daily routine that covers all of essential Spanish, you're going to build a solid foundation for long-term success with Spanish in as little as 5 to 10 minutes per day. So to recap, here are the 3 steps for building consistent habits that will get you fluent over time. Start with the mindset hack of identifying as a serious Spanish learner so that you can learn to love the journey, not just the destination. Give yourself a foolproof pattern of daily Spanish study at the same time and place every day, ideally building off of the habits you already have. And then make sure to give yourself easy wins by making your daily routine just easy enough that you don't wear yourself out. And here's the easiest way to get started with all of this. We're running a 1-month challenge to get your Spanish study habits off to the right start with accountability to hundreds of other students and my entire team of coaches. This is the perfect way to kickstart your journey to fluency. Basically, it's a 4-week grammar bootcamp with daily speaking, listening, reading, and writing. And my team has carefully designed it to take the exact habit-building strategies from this video and turn them into daily assignments. You won't have to make any decisions. We'll lay it all out for you so it's as easy as possible. By the end of the 4 weeks, you'll have mastered essential Spanish, including the top 100 words that make up 50% of everyday conversation, as well as tricky grammar topics like ser versus estar, object pronouns, and subjunctives. Our next 1-month challenge is starting soon, so this is your chance to finally make Spanish a part of your daily life and build a system that you're actually going to follow all the way to fluency. Use the link in the description to join our next challenge, and if you do, I'll be there to help you show up every day on your journey to fluency.